I never baked like in my life. As with so many Asian households, the oven was used as like a cupboard, where all
That's true.
the pots and pans are, everything you can find that was in the oven. And the only time the oven was ever turned on was for Eid, when mom would make like roast lamb or something. So we never baked at home at all.
So what would you say to those people that are probably in that position to kind of say, you know what, just do it?
I'll just remind them that they're going to die. That's the one certainty that nobody has ever overcome.
Yeah.
Every single person who's been on this planet either already has or will die. So any opportunity you've had will cease. Any person you've ever loved will no longer be there. You're only here once, and that shame or that fear you're feeling will be irrelevant in 10 years' time. Nobody's going to care about you in 10 years' time, or how you dressed, or what you ate, or how you looked, what your hair color was, who you prayed to, who you dated. No. And so with the same landlords, we negotiated a contract for the Grand Central property. But let me tell you this, stay away from the Grand Central.
Really? Is it that
Stay
bad?
away from it. I'm not saying this just because of my bad experiences.
Okay.
If you're looking, because when I start a business, I want it to be a success. I don't want to just about
yeah,
make ends meet. There's no point in that. So if somebody came to me and said, I want to start a chai business, I'm gonna call it chai la la la, I'll be like, okay, you go do that. So.
Yeah. What's going on, people? Welcome to the 7th episode of the Minted Minds podcast. We're here joined with Ali Imdad. You guys might know him from the Great British Bake Off contestant. He's also got multiple businesses, or he's had multiple businesses. We're going to dig deeper into that as well. So, how are we, Ali?
I'm alright, the weather's good, so.
Weather's banging, yeah.
I know, so I'm happy. It's one of those days, you rarely get sunshine in the UK, so when it's out, just lifts the mood.
When the weather is like this, it just puts everyone in a good mood.
Yeah,
I know it puts me in a good mood.
You either be in a good mood or you just take all your clothes off and sit in the park. It's like one or the other.
This is the first time I actually wore shorts in garden.
Yeah, how do you feel?
I feel free.
You feel free?
I feel free.
You feel liberated?
It feels nice.
Good.
Because we don't often get this weather. Do you know what I mean?
We don't. So enjoy it whilst we can.
Plus, if you don't know, we're literally sitting outside Coco by Ali, which is one of his current businesses. And the location, mashallah, it's bang on, bro.
It's cute, and it's a cute little spot.
Yeah.
I think we got lucky with this area.
So, now that we're on the topic, let's talk about it. So, I know before Coco by Ali, you had a few other businesses. So, where did your business journey start? Not your baking side, so we know you're a baker.
Uh-huh.
So, what was your first business?
First business actually was Coco.
Oh, right, okay.
A lot of people think Artisan was my first business, which is a dessert place in Liverpool Road. But it was never mine. Artisan was never mine. I was just the head baker there.
Okay.
So it belonged to some school friends of my older brother. And they approached me straight after Bake Off. They said they're opening up a dessert place. I want to do something a little bit different. A little bit different than your normal cookie doughs and waffles, and they were like, do you want to get involved? And I was like, yeah, sure, because I used to work in marketing before, and I've always wanted to make a career in sort of baking, so I thought that was the perfect opportunity to kind of help be part of a journey without like taking on the full responsibility of having your own business. So they approached me, said we're opening a dessert parlor, would you want to get involved? I said yeah, and that's kind of where it started. So I sort of helped curate the dessert range, and I worked there for about 2 years, I think. And yeah, they went from strength to strength. They did great. They're still going strong now.
So were you a partner of the business?
No, I when it comes to the actual business side, I had nothing to do. I was just an employee.
Oh, okay.
But I got along with the owners very, very well, and we're still in touch now, and they're doing great. But this came a time where I was like, okay, after about 2 years, I was like, okay, I have the skills that I need now. And that was when I was like, okay, I just sat down with them and like, am I good to leave now? And obviously, you know, I'd been there for so long and I'd created such connections with them that it wasn't an easy decision. But, you know, we were like, yeah, you know, let me do my own thing. And they were going to carry on with theirs. And that was that.
Did
But-
they know that the time was coming, that eventually you would have to leave, or was it?
Yeah, no, I think they did know that I wasn't going to stay there forever, and about the 2-year mark was kind of about right. So I don't think it came as a massive surprise. And you know, they had found their own strength in what they were doing. I don't think they needed me anymore.
Okay.
So we just, I don't like to say parted ways because there was no animosity or anything. It's just I was no longer.
You
an
moved on
employee,
to whatever you had.
and they were carrying on with the
Yeah.
strengths that they had. Yeah.
Because I was under the impression, and I think a lot of people were under the impression, that Artisan, Ali Imdad,
Yeah.
C's Restaurant,
Yeah.
I think you were pretty much the face of it.
Yeah, but I think that
essentially-
was the intention.
That
I
was
was
the
always
intention,
meant to be
yeah.
the face of it, because it worked for both parties. Because it worked for them because I drew in the crowds because I was
course,
off the
yeah,
Bake
yeah.
Off. It worked for me because it was a good testing ground to see, one, whether I could draw in the crowds, and two, whether people appreciated things I was doing. That was an intended
Okay.
direction we were going in. So it wasn't like I wasn't aware that people thought it was mine. I was fully aware that people thought it was mine. So were the owners. But it worked for both of our interests. So I was alright with it.
So you had no part in running of the business. You were purely the
Well,
head chef, or
No,
did you
as
dabble in it as well?
No,
or?
we all got on really, really well, and they would ask for my advice, and while the final decisions were never mine,
Okay.
they were very receptive to ideas and suggestions. So I would say I helped in building the business up. So yeah, I would say I was part of the decision-making process, but the business wasn't ultimately mine. If that makes
I
sense.
bet. I think that's probably a good thing, because you didn't have the burden of having all that pressure of
Yeah.
running it, which I'm pretty sure you know now. When
Yeah.
running your own businesses, what type of stresses there is, making sure that employees are getting paid, making sure the rent and rates and all that stuff. So, do you reckon your experience in Artisan and having that sort of experience helped you build what you've got now?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm still in some ways indebted to them because that was my first sort of foray into, doing desserts, not just as a hobby, but as a means of making money.
Yeah.
So absolutely. If it wasn't for those guys giving me a chance to be a part of Artisan, I'm not sure if Coco was to exist. So even though it wasn't my business, it was absolutely part of my journey.
Okay, so let's take it all the way back. You're a baker. If you had to label yourself now, so you've got your own business, you
Yeah.
also, like, what are you first? Like, are you a baker? Are you an entrepreneur?
I hate the word entrepreneur, but
you
I'd
hate
say
it?
I'm
Okay.
because there's so many connotations to entrepreneur. You always see on people's Instagram bios,
Yeah.
They sell a few T-shirts and they're an entrepreneur, and
Yeah.
that's not me. That's not me knocking them down. It's this thing that entrepreneur is now synonymous with like influencer.
Yeah,
Where it's
yeah.
no longer something that you are. It's a label or an identity. And I don't identify as an entrepreneur. It's just by business. That's what I am.
Okay.
I run a business. I run businesses. That's what I do. So I'd say by trade I'm an entrepreneur, but you won't find that on any of my
you
business cards or my
Ali,
titles.
the massive entrepreneur.
Yeah,
No,
the entrepreneur. No,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
it's what I do, but it's not my identity.
Yeah, I think you're right in ways, because everyone throws it up on their Insta bio, as you said. Just sold a few T-shirts, that's it, and so you there's no value in calling yourself an entrepreneur.
I mean, if there is a value, I just think, find value in yourself rather than your identity. Okay, fine,
label.
you have £100,000 because you're an entrepreneur, but the value is you. You don't need to blast to the world that you own businesses. I mean, nobody cares. Like literally nobody cares. So it's not the fact that entrepreneur is being used here or there. It's the fact that it's being used as a means of showing off almost. Of showing yourself as, look, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm
Look at me. Look what I'm doing. I'm better
look
than
what
you,
I'm
so
doing. I
this-
have businesses. You know, it's just not what you should be doing. I know this is slightly off topic. It's just you don't need to boast about your successes. The world doesn't need to know. I ordered it for them.
Oh yeah. Cheers. Thank you very much.
I just thought the world doesn't need to know that you're an entrepreneur. You can be successful without having a picture of a car that you probably rented and having the label entrepreneur out there, because it cheapens your successes. And it also cheapens that term entrepreneur. So it's just, on a personal level, I don't like to use that term because, you know, I am Ali first and foremost. I'm from Alum Rock. I enjoy baking. I have really good friends. Oh, and I also happen to have a business.
You know, for someone that's from Alum Rock, yeah, you don't sound like you're from Alum Rock.
Yeah, I know. Lots of people say that.
When I first found out you were from Alum Rock, I was like, what?
Yeah. I was born in Alum Rock. I went to school in Alum Rock. I still live in Alum Rock. My family are in Alum Rock. And yeah, I'd probably put my hands up and say I don't sound like I'm from Alum Rock. You know, let's be honest, there is a culture in Alum Rock. You know, most Asians know that culture. They know what it's about.
Alum Rock, and you know, they're doing well.
The thing is, it's a struggle. You know, there are parts of the community that bring the rest of the community down. There are parts of it which are a little bit shady, but at the same time, the reason why I don't like knocking Alum Rock is people forget that there is still institutional racism that brings Alum Rock down.
Yeah,
There's a reason. When was the last time anyone saw a police officer walking around Alum Rock? They don't do it anymore.
Okay.
You have them in more affluent areas,
Yeah.
you know, keeping rich white people safe.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the communities, you know,
They just don't care.
They don't care. They don't care. So whilst I always say there are problems in Alum Rock, and there are major problems, it's not always because we want, you know, prostitution or we want drug lords or racketeering.
Yeah.
It's not that we want it. It's that it's so hard for people in Alum Rock to find success because we're not given those opportunities. So are they always to blame? You know, think about it. If you have grown up in poverty, you have 6 or 7 brothers or sisters, your dad may or may not be around, your mom may or not be around, you need to make an income. The world doesn't give you an opportunity, but someone says, I can give you a good income by selling a few, you know, packs of weed. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But am I gonna be like, oh, you deserve to go to prison because you tried to find some success? Nah, I think you have to realize that a lot of people who do these things don't want to do these things.
Yeah.
But the culture of this society is that a lot of people have no choice because workplaces don't give you an opportunity because your name is Mohammed or Abid or Aftab. Universities don't take you seriously because you're from a working class family and you're brown. Society doesn't give you a chance because your parents speak Urdu or Punjabi. So you have so many factors that are working against you that I'm not surprised it's taking Alum Rock so long to come out of that sort of culture. So I always say I'm proud to be from Alum Rock. It's, you know, I don't say there are a lot of differences that like my family have with other parts of the community, but still, you know, we all find a way of making an income, and I'm hoping to find a way to invest in the community, give it a chance so it can find its own feet, because if I'm being honest with you, I don't think the country is going to give it a chance. So I'm hoping the people who do make it from the community will give it a chance.
That's quite interesting that you said that, because believe it or not, actually, one of our first guests on the podcast, I don't know if you've heard of him, Cameron Arif from the Lime Tree Clinic.
Oh, I know the Lime Tree Clinic.
Yeah, so he does cupping and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's actually from Alum Rock as well, and he still lives in Alum Rock, even
Yeah.
though he's found, you know, success, mashallah, and he's doing really well. He's also from Alum Rock. He's also proud that and says with an open chest, I'm from Alum Rock.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know, like, even for yourself, even though you've reached a certain amount of success, you're still able to say, you know what, I'm happy, I'm proud to say I'm from Alum Rock.
100%, yeah.
And and I completely agree, you know, with the opportunities. But I think now we have the internet. Now we have a lot more opportunities that we did from maybe a couple of 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, 100%.
And this podcast is one of the reasons why I've started it, just to show people, one, the sort of mindset that you have to kind of push through the struggles. You can't fall victim to your surroundings. You can't say because I'm from this area, I'm gonna or like yourself, you're from Alum. You've not given yourself that victim mentality thing to think, because I'm from this area, I'm not going to go and try and make some success of myself. So that's quite interesting. Okay, so baking, where did that come from? What inspired you to start baking? Is there like a moment where you thought this is me forever sort of thing? Let's talk a little bit about that.
There are two sort of aspects to it. I never baked like in my life. As with so many Asian households, the oven was used as like a cupboard, where all the pots and pans are, everything you can find that was in the oven. And the only time the oven was ever turned on was for Eid, when mom would make like roast lamb or something. So we never baked at home at all. It was only when I moved away for uni that a housemate of mine, he introduced me to baking. So he was the kind of guy who was like, the house has to be spotless. The kitchen isn't just like to hold your plates and a microwave. He was like, no, just because we're students doesn't mean we're going to be having pot noodles every day. Because that's what we used to do. We used to have takeaway and, whatever we can find. He was like, no, we're going to start cooking. We're going to start, baking. And he had a cookbook. And that was it. He said he started making some food. And then we got to the baking section of the cookbook, which was, stuff like chicken pie, cottage pie, and then, cakes and macarons and stuff. And then every Thursday, we'd have some of our uni friends round. And then he was like, okay, Thursday's going to be... I've been thinking back, it was kind of weird. Because we were all lads, it wasn't like a mixed group.
Let's have a baking party.
So, yeah, it was literally like all lads would come down straight after football. And there was us bringing out the Victoria sandwiches and some chai. It didn't seem weird at the time, but in hindsight,
looking back.
But yeah, so with every Thursday, our housemates and all our friends would come round, and me and my friend Zahir would bring out the Victoria cake or cupcakes or macarons, and we'd literally just chat about whatever, politics, theology, football, and we'd eat cake. And then I was also part of the Islamic Society at my uni.
What university was it?
University of Leicester.
Okay.
And every year we used to have a charity bake sale. It used to be called Charity Week, and we used to have a bake sale. And every year it was the same thing. The girls would bake. Like, it was just a standard. We had the guys, we had the girls. The guys would do jack shit, and the girls would bake. And I hated that. Something I've always grown up is I hate, I guess, stereotypes. I hate this idea that guys have to do a certain thing and girls do a certain thing. And I know biologically there are differences, of course there are, and guys will always be generally biologically stronger. Girls tend to be more more maternal. But when it comes to baking or cooking, I mean, there's nothing in a female that makes them more likely to cook or bake.
There's a lot more celebrity male chefs.
Male chefs, yeah.
But
when it comes to society, it's always the females.
Yeah.
And I just hated it. I thought it was embarrassing that there's a committee with equal amount of guys and girls, and yet there was never a conversation of guys donating to the bake sale. It was always girls. So I was like, I can bake, I'm going to do it. And so I was the first guy who started to bring cupcakes and macarons. And then obviously I socially pressured the other guys in the committee that, you're going to bring something as well. Even if they brought something, I was like, you're not just going to have the girls bringing stuff, because it sets a stupid precedent that, especially if you go back about 10 years ago, there was this idea that Muslims are more cultural based than anything else, that, the women stayed at home and the men led the way. I was like, what example are you setting, that the girls are standing there selling cupcakes, bringing in cupcakes, and the guys are just standing there as though, the women have done what they were meant to do, and the guys just stand and look pretty or look pleased. So I was like, no, if they're going to do it, we're going to do it. And that led from one thing to another. I started baking more. And then I started baking as a hobby, and then I used to get teased a lot for being a guy who bakes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, because it's not that common, is it?
Yeah, especially 10 years ago. It was not common at all. So my immediate friends were like cool with it. They're like, why would they complain? They were getting cakes every day.
Yeah.
But other people would talk and whisper. Why is this guy baking?
Why is he baking?
Yeah, why is he baking? What kind
why
of
is he
guy
not out
is
there
he?
playing football?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the kind of guy who, like, that wouldn't shut me down. I'd want to scream it from the rooftops. Like, I wouldn't care at all what people thought. So I used to watch Bake Off. I was like, you know what would piss people off the most. I was like, why if I take it onto TV?
I like it.
And so I applied. I had no idea I'd get on. I just wanted to show everyone, look, guys, I'm applying for the Bake Off. Because my brothers would tease me. They wouldn't tease me like seriously, but you know they'd call
Friendly
me names.
banter.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't give a shit what you say. I'm applying for the Bake Off.
What gave you the courage to kind of stick with it, even though you've got people whispering, you got your own brothers, even though they're teasing you in a friendly way, but
probably because I've always been somewhat feminine since I was a kid. I don't mean like I walk around in dresses or makeup.
What do you mean? Yeah, so what do you mean by
so I was always more sensitive.
Okay.
And
Emotional.
obviously that doesn't mean that's a feminine trait, but it was perceived as such, particularly 10 years ago. So I was always more sensitive. I never liked sports. Like the idea of football, I absolutely hated. I'd pretend I like it because that was the social norm. You know, a guy
I don't
who
like
doesn't-
football. I don't watch it. I don't follow nothing.
But that's really that's not common. Especially
find it
contemporary-
weird?
They find it really weird.
To be fair, sometimes I feel like I wish I did, just so I could be part of their conversation.
Exactly,
Because they're so passionate.
They're
and I'm
so
just-
passionate about it. That's all they talk about. All my my WhatsApp groups, because about 90% of my friends are all guys, and
Yeah.
90% of guys are
Football,
are for football. And so I never was into football. That was automatically a red flag. When I was like 5, my mom brought me a cardigan, and it was glittery. And obviously, I didn't have a choice. I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So I would wear it, but even
liked
then,
it.
kids were mean. You know what I mean? And so they'd say things, and I didn't understand it. I was like, it's a nice cardigan. Like it's shiny. And so stuff like that. I've always been into fashion. You know, I love pink. I wear pink all the time. It's like one of my favorite colors. And so there was all these little red flags that people were like.
Again, you wear pink. You're a bit sensitive, as you said, maybe a bit more emotional. But you're from Alum Rock. Do you see, like, how have you managed to still keep yourself and be true to yourself, even though your surroundings may not have been so receptive to it?
I think because that's the thing. Alum Rock isn't actually like that.
Okay.
Most of the guys there are the stereotypical tough lads. But I've never seen anyone in Alum Rock be bullied for being different. There's actually a man who's trans.
Okay.
He lives in Hallam Rock. He's a white guy, and you'd say, I don't have to say politically correct, but you can. Some would say he doesn't pass as trans, as in you can tell he was.
Oh, right,
he
okay.
identified. He was born male.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he
yeah.
identifies as female, but you can
can
kind of
tell,
tell that
yeah,
at some point he didn't. He wasn't.
He was
He was assigned male at birth, and he, I've spoken to him a couple of times. He said, "I've never experienced any transphobia here. It's just that, you do your own thing in Hallam Rock. They don't really care that much.
Yeah.
You do your own thing, and as long as you don't, mess with the community that is, play loud music in the middle of the night or bring trouble to the community, they're
Phase.
fine. I have family friends, and I have friends in Hallam Rock who, are very much part of the community, and they know what I'm like, and
Yeah,
they don't
definitely.
care at all,
Yeah.
because I do my thing, and so Hallam Rock has never been an issue. It's just generally lads at school or whatever. But I just always hated that, and I've never been someone to be like, I'm going to change how I am or who I am because so and so doesn't like it. It was actually because when I was about 16 or 17, I read an article, and it was a study on people who are dying. So this nurse did a study of people on their deathbeds, and she asked them a series of questions, but the one question she asked all of them was, do you have any regrets of your life? And she said the most common answer was, not living a life that I wanted to live. And that I was only 15 or 16, but that hit me straight away, and I was thinking, is that going to be me? Am I going to be 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 on my deathbed thinking, shit, I'm only here once, at least in this life, I'm only here once. Have I just missed the only opportunity I'm going to get just to please other people? And I was like, I'm not going to do that. And so it was literally about that age when I was like, I'm not going to give a crap anymore about what other people think about me. I'm just going to live my life as truly as I can to myself, and as long as God isn't let down by what I do, I really don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. I don't
think
really care what
with
anyone
this
else
whole,
thinks.
the whole social media now, we got to a point in life now. If you're not on social media, it's like what? You haven't got Instagram, you haven't. So, social media is a big part of everyone's life nowadays, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can probably relate to you. Feeling as if you might be sort of living your life where you're trying to fit in, or you're trying to, you know, show off to certain people, but you're not being true to yourself. What would you say, or what advice would you give to someone who's maybe feeling that type of struggle, whether they're young or old? You could feel this at any stage of your life. Where you're not being really true to yourself, and you really want to do something, but you're scared of what people might say. Or like, even for this podcast, I was thinking, took me a little while to come around to think, I'm just going to do it. I don't care what people say, or if it works out, if it doesn't work out, whatever, I'm just going to do it. So what would you say to those people that are probably in that position to kind of say, what, just do it?
I'll just remind them that they're going to die. That's the one certainty that nobody has ever overcome. Every single person who's been on this planet either already has or will die. So any opportunity you've had will cease. Any person you've ever loved will no longer be there. You're only here once, and that shame or that fear you're feeling will be irrelevant in 10 years' time. Nobody's going to care about you in 10 years' time, or how you dressed, or what you ate, or how you looked, what your hair color was, who you prayed to, who you dated. Nobody's going to care. The only one who's going to care is you, because the only person who's going to impact is you at the end of the day. Just don't be that person who's going to be on their deathbed, because there are billions of people who have been there. They've been on the deathbed thinking, shit, if only I could have had that opportunity again. There are people in their graves, if you're Muslim or if you're religious and you believe in an afterlife, they're in their graves right now wishing that they could have the opportunity that you have right now. I bet you they would give anything that they could just to be in the opportunity that you have and actually do the thing that you're too frightened to do. So unless your safety is on the line, or you're afraid of what might happen if you do what you want to do, just do it. Because in 10 years' time, your failure or success isn't going to matter. You're going to have an opportunity again. If you want to do something you're afraid you won't succeed, you'll have another opportunity in 5 years. And 5 years is literally nothing. If you waste 5 years, that's fine. I mean, I'm 33 now, and I'm starting another business. I'm not like, oh shit, I'm not married. I'm not sitting on my bed crying myself to sleep thinking, oh god, I should have
People
done
think
this,
your life finishes. This is when your life starts. I'm 32 myself,
For
and
sure.
I still feel like I'm in my 20s.
This is the prime of your life. There are people who've been so massively successful in their 40s or 50s, and none of them are sitting there thinking, oh shit, if I had done this earlier. Or maybe they are. Maybe you're in your 20s or your teens, and you're thinking, shall I keep doing what everybody else around me is doing, or shall I actually take the risk and do what I want to do? I can't emphasize this enough. Just do what you want to do. I mean, as long as it's not something stupid. If you want to be a porn star, it's up to you. But I'm not going to encourage you to do that. But if you want to do what you want to do, just do it, because you don't want to be that guy. That there are people on the deathbed right now thinking, if I had that chance, and that could be you or me in 10, 20, 30 years time.
It's definitely a good
don't
reminder.
waste the opportunity.
Definitely. You're right, 100% agree with that. Right, so you're baking. You're baking for friends. That turned into a really good hobby, and then you thought, you know what, just to throw in people's faces, I'm going to apply to the Great British Bake Off. So what was the process? You apply, you get an interview, do they tell you it's scripted, is it not scripted,
So you apply via online form. If they're interested, they'll give you a call, and then from that call there are about maybe 10 or 11 different processes and stages before you get chosen. So it's very much a long-winded process. I was one of the last people to be chosen, so mine wasn't that long. It was maybe about 8 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks, but for some other
Okay.
people it was months. And then so after all those auditions, you get on. It's not scripted at all. It's very natural. What you see is how it
You know
is.
the steps to get to the. Was any baking involved?
Yeah. So they'll tell you to bring some stuff in. They'll give you a theme. They'll say bring in something savory, something sweet, and they'll say bring in. They'll give you a very vague recipe of, let's say, bread, and you'll bring that in, and you'll have food sort of producers, and they'll test it, and then you'll also have to bake something there and then, and they'll make some mistakes in the recipe to see whether you pick that up.
Okay.
They also do sort of psychological tests to see how you will cope with, the potential of fame or media criticism or scrutiny.
Pressure.
So there's a whole array of stages that they do, and then at the very end they'll give you a call to see whether you're in or not. I was lucky enough to be in.
What was your reaction when you got the call?
I was so ecstatic. I didn't think I would get in, but I was over the moon. I was just like, because if I'm being honest, I wasn't that good of a baker. I'd only been baking for a couple of years, and it was only as a hobby. So when I got on, I was like, are you sure? Like, have you got the right person? So I was really surprised. I got on, but I was really happy, and the whole process was just so much fun. It was stressful as hell because everyone else was just so much better than me.
But do you think that's in your own head? You feel as if
No,
everyone else...
I was the most inexperienced. I blagged my way on. Is a truth. I think they were more interested in my story, the fact that I was a brown male baker, rather than the fact that this guy is super talented. Because trust me, back then I wasn't. So I literally blagged my way on, and I didn't do amazingly well, but the experience was so much fun. I made friends for life on there, and all of this is on the back of that.
Comes from that, yeah.
So it was a springboard. So regardless of how well I did or didn't do, I have an entire business out of it.
Do you think, did that make it official for you in regards to, so when did you know that baking was for you, like you wanted to turn into a career? Was it after the Bake Off? Was it prior to the Bake Off?
No, it was after. So I got thrown out.
You got thrown out?
Well, no, I mean, I was, I didn't get past.
Okay.
So
I haven't watched it. If I'm
so it's
being
like
totally
Apprentice. So
honest.
week by
Okay,
week,
yeah.
everyone's someone's taken
What
out.
series was it?
One of the early ones, like 2013. So it was like
Okay, because I tried to
20
find
years
it, I couldn't.
It was years ago.
Okay.
And then I was like, shit, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I went back to my normal day job. But it was only once it aired, and I was getting a lot of attention. I was being called on like TV shows and radio shows. I was like, what's going on? I came like 9th out of like 13 people. I was 9th. I was like, there are so many people who came further up the chain than me. But it just grew from strength to strength. I was on BBC Radio. I had my own show on British Muslim TV, on Islam Channel, and I was making relatively decent money. And then a friend of mine, a college friend of mine, he was like, let's do something together, and that's where Coco was born.
So Coco was born before Artisan?
No. Coco was born during Artisan. Yeah. it
Oh,
was
right,
during
okay.
Artisan,
So after the Bake Off, you got involved with Artisan, but your own official business was Coco by Ali. Oh, right, okay.
So Coco was just it was just a discussion at that time. So whilst I was at Artisan, I was I always wanted my own business, but I couldn't afford it. I didn't have the money to start a business. I'm from Alum at the end of the day, so I wasn't born into money.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the money, but my friend did. So Artisan was essentially a training ground for me. So I was training in Artisan, and that's when me and my friend Saf decided to talk about Coco.
So you were saying that you've always wanted to be in business. Has that been like your thing from day one, like since young? Like,
No.
Did you know that you wanted to go into business?
Nah.
Okay,
As I said,
so-
I'm the quiet, sensitive. Like, I know I speak like confidently or comfortably on camera, but
Yeah.
I'm very much an introvert. I don't make friends easily. I don't like being on camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. Like, you know, when people recognize me, there's a joke at Coco that I pretend that I'm my brother. So when people ask, "Are you Ali?" I'm like, "No, no, no, I'm his brother."
Oh, so that's because you don't like the attention.
I hate the attention. I hate it so much. Obviously, I appreciate that people
Yeah, of course,
have an
yeah,
interest in me. I think that's super cool. But I'm not.
So if you were like a major big time celebrity, you'd hate that.
There are two things I enjoy about it. One, the money, because at the end of the day, whilst money doesn't buy happiness, it buys you opportunity.
Yeah, of
And I
course,
love
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea of going on holiday when I want,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
treating my
the
family.
freedom.
Yeah, so I enjoy the money, and secondly, I enjoy the social responsibility. I'd say I'm a political activist.
Okay.
I'd love to use my platform as a means of activism for things I care about. So I'd love that aspect, but the idea of going out on people or people having an interest in my life, I don't understand that at all. Like,
So you've been on this podcast right now. Do you see the value in it? In the sense of me asking you the questions, you sharing parts of your life, parts of your success, the lessons that you've learned. Does that make you feel as if, why do you want to know about me?
no,
Or like,
no. I said that's the only reason I agree to it. There's so many
Okay.
things I say no to. The only
Okay.
reason I agree to it is because I know I would have needed to listen to
something,
this.
yeah.
It didn't exist.
Okay.
Um,
So, but let's just say you was walking downtown, everyone's screaming your name. Oh, Ali.
I would pretend I was somebody
so
else.
you'd hate that. as well.
I'd hate it. I'd pretend I was someone else. If it's fun for a little while.
Yeah.
When it first started, I was like, it's fun to have people appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
But then when
yeah.
you realize, you're just a normal human being, and
Mm.
I don't like making friends much. I have a very small group of friends, and I appreciate them loads.
Where does that come from? Is that a trust thing? Is
No,
that
it's just
you.
my brothers are quite open, and my sister as well. They're all very extroverts. It's just I've always been an introverted person. When I was at uni, I wasn't the clubbing kind of guy or like parties. I would absolutely love just to be at home with my friends watching a film. Like, that's what we always used to do. One of my housemates was into anime, and we'd watch anime, just have the lights off, sit on the sofa, watch anime, whilst my other friends were out playing football or going shisha. That wasn't me at all. I'm just an introvert. I like doing my own thing. I like my own personal space. I kind of forgot what the actual question was.
We're just going with the flow. So you were talking that so you've been on the show.
Yeah.
And you said it's created opportunities
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
So if you go back, you said Artisan was sort of your springboard,
Yeah,
your training
yeah,
ground
yeah.
for the birth of Coco by Ali, which you founded with a business partner, as am I correct?
It's my college friend called Saf.
College friend, yeah. Are you still with business with him as of today?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, because I know there was something happened with you guys in Grand Central.
Mm-hmm.
From the research I've been doing online, apparently you got kicked out. We'll talk a little bit about that. And now, like you were saying in one of your articles, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because this spot, bro, mashallah, is amazing.
Isn't it? Isn't
Like,
that
the weather is banging. You've got, mashallah, you got a nice little sweet spot here, I think.
People come on secret dates here, when you don't want to get caught, because it's like it's accessible.
But it's
a bit
slightly
further away.
yeah.
So we have loads of people like, I know you're on a
When
secret
I was like
date.
17, 18, I could have done with this spot.
yeah, exactly. I see some people walk. I'm like, your brothers don't know you're here, do they? But you know what? I'm happy to serve that crowd. I'm here to keep your secrets.
So I asked you if business was something that you've always wanted. You said no.
Oh, I guess that was a question. That was the original question.
And so you mentioned that you were in marketing
yeah.
first. Was that what you were studying at uni?
Yeah, I started business and marketing, and I'd always set in my head since I was a child that I was going to work for somebody.
Okay.
I wanted an office job, 9 to 5. I do the best that I can in the job that I am. I have a healthy paycheck. That's it. That's all I really wanted. It was only after the Bake Off and after Artisan, or during Artisan, did I realize that maybe I could actually start my own business. But yeah, before that wasn't. It didn't even cross my mind. It wasn't even a peripheral thought. It was nothing.
I'm just gonna do a 9 to 5 somewhere.
Yeah, that was going to be my life, and I would have been happy with it. Or at least I thought I would have been happy with it. But that was always going to be my set path.
So, Grand Central, Was that the first, like, was that when Coco by Ali was born, or?
No. So, as I said, I was poor. I had no money to start a business. And my business partner, he had more money than I did, but he didn't want to just jump into a full-blown
Yeah.
shop because, he isn't from wealth either.
Okay.
He's from Aston.
Has he got business experience? Or?
No.
So, okay.
He's just like me, we're from working class families, working hard to get some income. But he had a little bit more money than me, so he's like, let's do a pop-up. And so we did a pop-up in Bullring Link, which is a sort of section, like a really little small section between the Bullring and Grand Central. And it's basically a closet. It's a closet with a little, counter.
Yeah.
And even though that was hella expensive, we had just enough money to do that. And so Coco started there.
When you mean by expensive, was the rent expensive or?
Rent, yeah, the rent is just ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
It's more than this. That little closet
Wow.
was, it was more expensive than this. That little closet. But because it was short term, they allowed us to do it short term.
So what made you do like a pop-up? What, like, because going from no experience in business, having an idea of starting a business and setting up in prime location as Bullring and the Link, what made you like take that risk? Why not start something a bit smaller, maybe somewhere elsewhere? Was it like a branding thing? Was it?
So it was a combination. Firstly, that was as small as you could get in the city centre. Because it was short term. Other leases are, you talk about minimum 2 years, and we didn't want to tie ourselves into something that we didn't think would, we didn't know would last.
Of course, yeah.
So with a pop up, you can do it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh really? Okay.
So it was a 6 week contract, and we decided this would be a good idea to see whether there's any, grounds for success for this, and so we did it there, and it was so popular. It was just week on week, it was growing, and I was still at Artisan at the time, but that's when we decided, okay, this business has ground, it has footing, it has potential, and that was when we decided we're going to find a more permanent place, and so with the same landlords we negotiated a contract for the Grand Central property. But let me tell you this, stay away from the Grand Central.
Really? Is it that
Stay
bad?
away from it. I'm not saying this just because of my bad experiences.
Okay.
Firstly, the Grand Central is designed for businesses with power.
Okay.
So if you're McDonald's or if you're, Nando's,
Any of the major players.
you can negotiate, and for every time Hammerson or the owners of Grand Central push you, you can push back, because you have the influence and the power to do that and the money to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're a small business, local independent, you have no choice but to accept everything at their terms.
Okay.
And this is one of the things I was talking about, of people of color or people from underprivileged communities not being given a chance to succeed, is because these multinational organizations make it so difficult for you. The terms they give you are ridiculous. They gave us a 1-year contract, but they said we can throw you out in a month. They said every month.
That sounds ridiculous.
Could you imagine how much money you're pumping in to make it? Because they said it has to look a certain standard, which takes thousands of pounds.
I can imagine,
to make. But they're like, well, if we want to throw you out within a month, every month we can do that. I was like, well, what if you spend £15,000 meeting the standard that they require, and yet they still throw you out in a month?
Yeah.
What do? You do nothing. You lose your money. So these multinational organizations play with small independent businesses who are struggling as it is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And they make it so much harder for you. You might think that, but Bullring and Grand Central is where all the success is. They give you these false figures of footfall.
Footfall, yeah.
But these football, they're going to the train station.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These people are going home. They're going on holiday. They're not going to your shop. They're not out shopping. Maybe about 10% of those people are out shopping. 90% of the people are just going to the train station.
They just play with those numbers, don't they?
They play with
just
those numbers.
Make it so enticing.
They're salesmen at the end of the day. Do not fall for it. There is a reason why there are so many empty units there.
So how long were you
I
there?
don't remember, like 6 months or 7 months.
And then they just kicked
they
you
just
out.
called. It was first. It was the most rude conversation I've ever had. He just
Okay.
called me, and he said, "We're not entirely sure we're going in the direction that they wanted us to go in," which is weird because they never told us what direction they wanted us to
did that
go
mean?
in.
Like,
And then they said, "We're going to have to terminate the contract." And this was, a few weeks before the end of the month. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because we're allowed to." I was like, "Are you going to give us a reason why?" He's like, "Well, in the contract it says that we can end the contract in a month." I was like, "Yes, but why? What have we done?" And then I made a complaint about them, and they said, "No, he was in the wrong. He was in the right." I was like, "Okay, but can you tell us why?" And they're like, "Because we're allowed to." And they did an independent. So after it went on to the Birmingham Mail, and there was a fuss thrown about it, they said, "Okay, we'll have an independent person come in and review it." But they were paying this independent person. How is it independent if you're paying for that person to do a
Yeah,
review?
exactly, yeah.
And then they, lo and behold, this independent person said, "No, it was all fine, it was normal." I said, "Okay, well, will you ever tell me at all why we were thrown out?" Never heard from them again. They didn't even reply to that.
So they just basically bullied you out of it.
Yeah, they just said, "We want you out." And what I feel it was is that we paid to get the standard of the unit up, and they sold it on to someone who wouldn't have to spend all that much
All
money.
that much money, yeah. So
and
you've done
that's why-
someone's dirty work.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then someone else has just come
Yeah,
in.
and that's why I felt that these companies just abuse independence because they can. And I've had loads of people within business say, "I'm being offered a really good rate in the Grand Central or in Bullring. Should I take it?" 1,000 times no. Just don't do it unless you feel you have the money and the legal backing to push back the way they're going to push you. Stay away.
So you will never go back there again.
Absolutely not. We've had other not supermarkets, shopping centers say,
Approach
"Would you
you.
consider us?" Every time I just like, no, not at all. It's the day of shopping centers are coming to an end.
Really?
They really are coming to an end. There's a
Well-
reason why places like John Lewis, House of
Yeah.
Fraser are ending because
Yeah.
they're not lasting anymore. This place, the rent is maybe a fifth of what it was
Wow.
there, and we are making so much. Thank God, we're making so much. It is so much more successful here than it
Okay.
was there.
I'm not sure
There
that-
we were struggling we were fighting to get the people to come in. Here, thank God, they're just coming.
People just come in, yeah.
So
Well,
don't
Marshall,
let
the
this
place is very
idea.
nice,
Thank
man.
you. Don't let salesmen convince you that.
I think it's just the whole idea of, oh my God, I'm in the Bullring, I'm in the Grand Central.
You've succeeded.
I think from a perspective, like from the outside, if you hear about a place being somewhere, I think that helps probably the brand in itself more so than the actual business.
Yeah. You
But,
won't make money.
yeah.
I still have friends who are there, and some of them say they know their businesses make a loss, but it helps with their branding.
Branding, yeah.
If you can afford that, if you can
Yeah.
afford a loss-leading shop in the Bullring,
Yeah.
all power to you. Do it. There are strengths in having it
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but I am from, as I said a million times, I'm from Alum Rock. I value my money. Do you know what I mean? I am in no position to throw away my hard-earned money because, just know. So
Just to have
I'd
a shop
rather-
in Bullring just because of the name and branding.
Yeah, it
That's
works
ridiculous.
for some. It works for some.
Yeah.
I've spoken to some businesses who actually do that, and
Yeah.
they can afford to do that. That's brilliant. All power to you. But for me, as my experiences as an entrepreneur, it's not worth it. This generation, I'm sure we'll go on to it later, but
Yeah.
this social media generation does not need location anymore. Where you are is almost irrelevant because the way business works now for later millennials and Gen Z, it is irrelevant where you are.
If you had to start all over again,
Yeah.
and talking about what we just talked about now, what would you do?
Well, so my business partner still thinks there was value in Grand Central. This is where we disagree.
No, I kind of believe him, and the reason why I say that is because I heard about Coco about Ali being in Grand Central. Now, straight away, that's giving your brand value straight away. In my mind, just by you being in Grand Central is crazy, because I'm thinking, okay, such a powerful brand by someone that's been on the British Bake Off. Combine those two, it's like,
Yeah, but how many people or how many businesses do you think could have survived being thrown out?
that's
of
a different
Grand
matter.
Central?
Yeah, so yeah,
You might say, I now have a brand image of you, but thankfully we had enough money to start this. How many people who had that brand image now no longer exist?
Yeah.
So it was a gamble.
So you lost that place because I'm assuming you must have put a lot of money to kind of put it all together.
And we lost a lot of that money.
Yeah. So and then you lost a lot of that money. How did you manage to sort of pick yourself up and then think, you know what, we'll go again?
Well, we scraped the barrel of our funds for
Okay.
one. It took a while.
But even mentally, because I'm sure that would have took a lot about you. If someone just said to you, okay, look, see you later, we don't want you anymore.
Yeah.
Thank you for your business. Thank you for sorting the shop out, fixing it up. You've done great work. Off you go.
Yeah.
Now, I know that would have took me back, and I would have been pissed. I would have been, you know what I mean? I would have been probably in my own head for a little bit. How did you mentally to kind of get yourself think, you know what, we'll go again?
Yeah. Well, that was never a question for me. Setbacks like that never bring me down. It didn't bother me in the slightest. As I said, I'd never want to be there to begin with. So I was pissed off at how they dealt with it, but I wasn't pissed off about leaving Grand Central. If I'm being honest, I was always like, a little bit was like, thank God.
Slight relief.
Yeah, slight relief. I never wanted to be there. So as soon as this opportunity came, I was just like, I'm raring to go. I was so excited. I was like, because our building was, our business was growing week on week, even when we were in Grand Central. So I knew there was a market for it. And we just scraped the barrel of, I won't go into figures because my business partner will probably shout at me.
Yeah.
But I can't explain to you how little money we built this business in. Like, it was very, very little money. It was a case of I was fasting and yet I was here myself. These tables I built myself. I come. How I said I'm not the archetype male. Give me an IKEA thing, I will have no idea what to do. But somehow I managed to build some of these tables. If you look closely, you'd be like, okay, I can kind of see it. But
Now, fair play.
a lot of these things I did myself. Again, my business partner too. We were here late nights, till 3 a.m. in the morning doing it all ourselves because we could not afford to have anyone else do it for us. It was done on the cheap, but I'm going to sound so cheesy, but we had a dream, and our dream was to get this up and running again. And literally just about with the little money that we had left over, we had it open.
Wow.
And we were so afraid because we were like, one thing we always said was that if we owed money to our staff, there was no question that our staff would have to be paid. But we were afraid because we were like, we had so little. I think by the end we had in our bank in the hundreds rather than thousands. And we were like, we should always have a backup in case the first week doesn't go well and we need to pay our staff. But thankfully the first week we made just enough and we could we could pay our staff. And thank God week on week it was growing, month on month it was growing. And then now we're at a stage where we had maybe 4 or 5 members of staff. Now we have 15 or 16.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, it's just gone from strength to strength. And some of the staff we still have. We have such a high level of
High retention.
Retention.
So it'll be high retention. Yeah.
With our staff, we still have some of the same staff members from Grand Central.
Because these type of businesses is normally high turnover.
Very, very high turnover. Yeah, but we have we have new people coming in. The only time people normally leave is if we have students, and then obviously after they graduate, they naturally leave. But we have a WhatsApp group, our Coco WhatsApp group, and not a single only one staff member has left.
Oh, really?
So we have about 15 staff, and we have about 30 people on our Coco group. Because people don't leave because we're all friends, so we still go out to eat.
Okay.
We'll go out for meals when it's birthdays. Like July, we have about 12 people whose birthdays on July, and it's the most expensive month. We hate it, but we don't do individual birthdays. Then we just have one birthday meal because we're not going for a birthday meal every first, second, third, fourth, fifth. We have 3 people who work here who are born on the same day. in
Wow.
July. Yeah. So yeah. I'm
Do
just
they
really-
get Do they get any perks on their birthday?
well, not from Coco, but as in we go out
Just
for a meal
friends
and
and-
then we get each other presents and stuff. My thing is, we have perks here anyway, so they don't pay for food, even if they're even if they're not on shift, even if they don't work here anymore.
Yeah.
with people who left us years ago, they still come here and have food. We don't.
I want to ask you a
question it.
question because I don't know if you know. I've also got a dessert shop.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
I
so
have no idea.
I've got in it's one in Smethwick. Now, so I kind of know the struggles of starting your business and putting your elbow grease in, especially at the beginning. Doing a lot of the stuff yourself. People think, oh, you own this. Oh, you must be
minted.
You must be minted, but little do they know, like the amount of work and the amount of, you got bills, you got rent, rates, and wages and all
Wages,
sorts.
that's the killer. I mean, I really love my stuff,
Yeah.
but when you see that chunk go
Yeah,
out,
he's like,
you're like,
yeah. So, I know a thing or two about I had the struggles about it. Now you said that there's high retention rate, so you get along with your staff.
Yeah, I love
Very,
my staff.
I'm sure they love you too.
most of them.
But do you ever feel as if there's like a line that you can't sort of go past? Because let's just say you make friends with your
Yeah.
these are your employees,
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
And there's got to be times I'm sure that you got to put your foot down with them.
Yeah.
You can't be doing that.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel as if it makes that difficult because you've built such
It's
a
too
bond
late
with
for
them?
me. They don't treat me like I'm an owner at all. They cuss me. They do not see me as an owner at all. But the way I see it working is that they value the business, and hand on my heart, I can say almost every single member of staff has worked for free at some point.
Oh, really?
So
Wow.
if we say, let's say a Saturday comes and we're so busy, we'll just put on the group, dying help. Whoever's about, they'll come.
And they'll just come through.
They won't put themselves on the rota. They'll stay for hours, work, and nothing's ever said. Like I don't have to be like, oh my god, thank you so much, because we're friends and they genuinely care about the business. They will help out. There are
That's
people who have
awesome.
left years ago, and if I'm desperate for staff, I'm like, are you free that this day? They're like, yeah, I can come in,
they'll just come.
and they'll just work. They give ideas. They help me with social media. They give it's loads of entrepreneurs or people who own businesses will say that remind yourself that you're an employer, but for me, I genuinely haven't needed to. We do it together. Like we genuinely do it
That's nice,
together. Like if I'm the owner, so if I want to sit down, I'll be able to sit down. They won't let me. So they have half an hour break. I'm only allowed a half an hour break. So once my time is up, they will actually call me, be like, "Hello, your break's over. Come back to the back." And I'll just be like, "All right, cool. I guess I'm coming back to the back." They don't treat me like owner at all.
Well, I'm sure you're okay with it, and you've sort of maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't, because no one has ever exploited that. We've never fired anybody. We've never had an issue with anybody. We always go on trust. When it comes to hiring people, what we normally do is we ask the staff if you know somebody that you can vouch for. We don't have to look at the CV. Let's just somebody's being trialed right now in the back,
okay.
and I have no idea who this person is, but he's a friend of one of our current employees. I said to her, if you know someone and you can vouch for him, I don't need to know anything about him. Just bring him in, trial him in. If he works, he's got the job. And that's how we work. Almost all of our employees are actually friends of other employees.
Yeah, I've done that as well. I've done that.
It just works for me and works on trust. If you trust, if I trust you,
And
you trust that person,
Makes sense.
then I have no issue. I don't have to be here because I know they won't steal anything. I know that they'll value the shop. That I don't have to remind customers to do this or smile or anything like that. They want the success of this business just as much as I do, and that's why I honestly love coming to it. I mean, some days you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But on
You're
the
only
whole, I
human,
love
aren't
my business so much because I know my staff value it so much. One of my staff members, we had a private booking, and he brought all his stuff from home just to make it look really good. He's like,
So
you know
there's
what?
true love from your employees.
They're genuinely.
Yeah.
When they see me struggling, there was a period last year when I was really, really ill. I couldn't work at all. Like I felt like I was going to collapse. They just took it. They're like, you go home.
Was that from exhaustion of working or?
I don't know what it was. I was never diagnosed with anything. But
Was it mentally or physically?
well, for me, it was physical.
Okay.
Like I physically couldn't stand. I was
wow.
having real strong bouts of dizziness, but they couldn't find a diagnosis. It lasted like 5 or 6 months, and I honestly thought I was going to die. I couldn't eat. I couldn't eat a single thing.
And they didn't know what it was?
No, they thought it might have been anxiety, but I'm not
Oh.
really someone who deals with this. Like maybe it was anxiety, but even if I was on shift, we had some staff members who did the entire day, from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. and they were like, it doesn't matter, you go sit down or you go home, we'll take care of it. And we're talking about incredibly busy days, and because they had genuine care for me and the business, they're like, it doesn't matter. They struggled, they suffered, just because they didn't want
But
to
they
see
held
me
it
to do
down
that.
just because of the love for the business.
Yeah, and I will say to them that if they open up a business, I will 100% do the same for them. In fact, I do. There are a couple of them who have started, their own independent things, and I'm like, if you ever need anything from me, forget as a favor back, but you're my friend. I'll 100% be there for you. I'll support your business. I'll help your business, and that's how I run my business. Purely based on trust and friendship, and it works. It works for
that's
me.
good. That's
Yeah.
good. So you're very much a people person in the sense of when it comes to your
I'm a friend
employees.
person. I wouldn't say I'm a people person. Most people
Okay.
don't like me. Like
Okay.
if they don't know me, they won't like me. But once people get to know me,
Yeah.
then I will give you my everything.
If someone's looking to start their own business, what's a piece of advice that you'd give them? If they were starting to business like a restaurant, cafe,
Yeah.
something of similar what you've
Yeah.
been into, what if you could sort of give yourself a bit of advice,
Yeah.
maybe 5-6 years ago, what piece of advice would you give that
Okay,
person?
well, I have a list.
Okay.
But I have to say this is personal to me. So there's no one way of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, of course,
Or there's
yeah.
no one way of starting a business. But I have friends or people I know who ask me for advice on starting a business, and I normally give them a list. One is never give up more than 51% of your business. If it's your business, keep it as yours. Don't let
Why
anyone.
is that? Just for the people that don't know about the whole 51%.
Because if you give up more than 51% of your business, whoever else owns the other shares has either equal rights to your business or more rights to you to make changes. So if you called it Coco and you owe 49% of the business, whoever owns 51% of the business can change that
Change
name.
it, yeah.
They can change the way it's run. If you are the CEO, they can throw you out as CEO.
can throw you out,
They
yeah.
can't take away your shares. That will always be yours, but that will no longer be your business. So never ever give away more than 51. No matter how the owner of Nando's can come up to you and say, I had this much success. Unless you're in it for the money,
Yeah,
then give away
yeah,
99%. Have
yeah,
that 1% if you want, if you can
yeah.
make the money from it. But if that business means something to you, never give up more than 51%. No, never give up more than 49% of your business, because you have to always have 51% or more. Secondly, use other people's money if you can.
Really?
I know loads of people will say other,
Okay,
other
I'm
things.
intrigued.
Firstly, is because I imagine most entrepreneurs are young, and so you probably don't have a lot of money. If you're from working class family like I am, money will probably mean more to you than it does to someone who has £100,000.
Okay.
Right. So if someone comes to you and they're an investor and they already invest in other businesses, they're already used to making or losing tens of £1,000s. So I'm not saying play with people's money, because that's your character. I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
to the people who have genuine character and they care about other
Yeah,
people.
yeah. We're not here to exploit anyone
Yeah,
or
so
just kind
as
of
long
take-
as you're not here to exploit people or to play around with people's money,
Mm.
use other people's money, because
So you're saying pro-investment, get investment
100%,
from people in order for you
100%.
to achieve
Because
what you
if
want to
you're
achieve.
from a working class family like I am,
Makes sense,
if I
makes
had
sense.
£10,000, the value I would hold to that money
Yeah, of course,
is
yeah,
not
yeah.
the same that someone who is a millionaire
Yeah, of
would hold to
course.
£10,000. People go on holidays for £10,000, whilst I make a life from
Yeah.
£10,000.
Yeah.
So if you're in an opportunity like that where someone who already invests in money, I'd say if someone who's also equally, from working class family says, I've got £10,000, be a little bit wary, because they might also hold that value
As much
of
as you,
£10,000 as you do. And it's probably, unless you really believe in your business and you have a book or a folder that you can show that you're very confident in making that money back. Try not to use their money. Try and look for investors because they're looking for people like you anyway. Their entire business is looking for people like you. So find people like that, and trust me, they're very easy to find, especially in the Muslim community now, because a lot of our people have money now. Approach them, show them how confidently you believe in your money, in your business, and show them, don't just talk to them, waffles are really popular right now, and so therefore, I have a business that does chai. Look at Chaiwala. Chaiwala is really successful. I want to emulate Chaiwala. Therefore, you will make money. I would be like, cool story, and I'd walk away. Show them actual finances of how their money is going to bring them money. Show them actual numbers, how much money you think you're going to take in, and what you're basing that off. Where your profit margins are, and also how you think your business is different to anybody else's. I think you go to any Asian person and they can tell you how many rip-offs there are of Chaiwala right now. Yeah. It's because I don't know why they have this idea that there's a model of success. Let's not even emulate. Let's completely rip off.
Yeah, that's what gets to me. It's the fact that you haven't taken inspiration from it. You haven't got, okay, that works for that business. I'll take a little bit from there. They've literally copied and pasted and just changed, like, added an extra I in the chai or something, or chai wali or something. You know the craziest, and I've always said this. I said, like, there's no like creativity. There's no nothing. It's just literally a copy and paste job. Yeah. But what amazes me is people still go to these places.
Yeah, but I guarantee you they're not making money.
They're
getting by. They've got a little money here. And the thing is, fine, you'll get along. You might make a few hundred, a few thousand a month or something. That's fine. But your numbers will never compare to Chaiwala.
Of course, yeah.
And if you're looking, because when I start a business, I want it to be a success. I don't want to just about make ends meet. There's no point in that. So if somebody came to me and said, I want to start a chai business, I'm going to call it Chai La La La, I'll be like, okay, you go do that. So try and find something that's creative. It's okay to use inspiration. I mean, it's quite clear from my flower walls that I use inspiration.
I've got flower
walls from very popular brands in London. Of course, there are very few new ideas anymore. It's very hard to think of new ideas, but use inspiration. That's absolutely fine. But don't just rip off completely a business. So I forgot my list. Okay, yeah. So use other people's money if you can. Investors. Make sure you have a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, you're not going to be taken seriously, and you won't make money. And thirdly, is exploit. And I don't like to use that word freely, but exploit social media. Right now, and this trend won't last. So don't think your great-grandchildren are going to be millionaires, because you might be. But right now, it does not matter if you're in the city centre. It doesn't matter if you're in London. If you have the ability to entice the younger millennials and Gen Z, you can still be just as successful as anyone who's in the city centre. You just need to know your market, know how to cater to millennials, young millennials, and Gen Z, because they don't necessarily care about. I mean, don't get me wrong, the quality of my food is good. You know what I mean? The quality of my food is good, but I honestly don't believe that is the leading factor anymore.
Okay.
What they care for is an experience.
Okay.
If you can offer them an experience, then they will be more forgiving on other things. So the number one thing for me in Coco is the experience. So I make sure everything is aesthetically pleasing. Everything looks good. That you look good in my setting. That my food looks good on your pictures. That when you come here, you can get dressed up. Like the amount of people who come here dressed in like pastel pinks and yellows because they want to tie into to the look. That's what works for me, because we're not in the city centre. We're just off of it. And if you think about it, there isn't that much footfall here at all. You have people walking here and there, but while you're sitting here, you'll notice maybe 1% of our customers are footfall.
Yeah.
99%
They've
people
come specifically
know who
for-
we
yeah,
are,
yeah, yeah.
and they've come specifically for us,
Yeah.
and that's how we run. We invest a lot on our social media. And one thing that because I studied marketing, so I know how these things work. I exploit social media. I exploit TikTok and Instagram into creating a narrative that I believe Gen Z and millennials are after.
Oh, that's right.
And if you could do the same, and it's not just cafes, we have dentists who do the same thing. We have estate agents, we have, restaurants and bars and pubs. You just have to know your market, exploit that market, and then I honestly do believe that you can be a success. My brother has just opened up an ice cream place, and I'm kind of, helping him with that.
Is that what you were talking about when you said you're starting another business?
No, that's something else.
Are you starting another?
No, it's the same business, but
Oh.
it's somewhere else.
Oh, you're doing okay. You're opening a new store.
Yeah, but with him, I keep telling him that exploit the market and trust me, you will be a success. And day by day, his business has actually been growing.
Social
because-
media is king, man.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah,
social
it
media
is. But you have to remind yourself that it isn't going to last.
Yeah.
And this is where the second point of my business is that you can have, and there are loads of places where they are beautiful as hell, and people will come, but they'll only come once because you don't follow through. They may come here for the photographs, but they'll come again for the food.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
why
yeah,
the
yeah,
second
yeah.
point of my business is that make sure you can
Deliver.
follow through, make
Yeah.
sure you can deliver, and make sure you can keep that retention. Make sure your food is banging where it looks the part to get them in for the first time and tastes the part so that you can bring them in for the second, third, fourth, fifth time.
That's so true. Yeah.
And that's something that I live on, and that's what I fear a lot of these Instagrammable cafes don't live off of. I've seen so many pretty cafes, and obviously because I'm a competitor, I always make sure I go there. And I go there, I'm like, yo, your place is pretty, you spend a lot of money onto this, but I know you are going to close in 2 or 3 years.
Because there's no
you
reason
don't
for them to
deliver.
come back.
Yeah, I will
They've
come
got the
back once
pictures,
to got my pictures, yeah.
But the experience probably wasn't that great. The customer service was probably wasn't that great.
And most
The
of all, the food
wasn't-
is standard.
Yeah.
The food I got here, I can get from anywhere else.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is, not to flatter myself, but a lot of the food we do, I'm beginning to see in other places.
Okay.
I'm like, fine, do that, but at least do it good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah.
go there, I'm like, listen, your brioche baked toast is like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna copy me, like,
Yeah.
make sure it tastes the
Do
part.
it properly, yeah.
And I'm just like, how have I just paid £7 for this? Like, our brioche isn't cheap. I put my hands up and say that, you
Yeah.
can get other brioche baked toast for like £4, £5.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, it won't taste like ours.
Okay.
I'll
have to try it.
Yeah, you should. Honestly, it is
Yeah.
really good. I'll get one of the staff to make it for you because it genuinely is. It is really, really good. That's the one thing that I'm like,
Is that what would you say your number one salad
that
is?
brioche.
Yeah.
100%, 100% brioche. It just hits right. But I can't tell you how we cook it, but
Yeah, obviously,
everyone
yeah.
else does the standard way of making French toast, which is dip it in egg, put it on a griddle pan, blah blah
Okay.
blah. But that isn't how we do it.
Okay.
And that's what sets us apart. Is because it can often get greasy, and I'm thinking about it now because I hate French toast. Like I hate when you dip it in egg and put it on.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
always hated it. And when I go there, it tastes eggy and it tastes
Yeah.
it tastes like greasy, and I hate
Yeah.
it. I'm like, how am I paying £7 with a bit of Nutella drizzle on
Nutella,
top?
yeah,
Alright,
yeah.
cool. It doesn't look that pretty. It doesn't have that special character, and people will come once. They'll be like, oh, this is nice. I've got my pictures, but I'm not coming again.
But I think that's where your baking experiences come into play, where you've got all this experience now.
Yeah. We have
And now
bakers
you-
as well in house. We don't have cakes now because they've sold out.
Oh, right,
we sell
okay.
out really quickly, and we're struggling with
It's a
that.
good problem to have.
Yeah, worse problems to
Yeah.
have. Yeah, but normally we have cakes lined up here.
Yeah.
But I know they're baking right now because when I left, I saw them baking. We bake everything in house, and that's one of my pet peeves. Is before Artisan, one of the reasons why I was part of Artisan, because every time I go to a dessert parlor, I'm like, I know you've got this from Costco.
Yeah,
Stop
yeah.
telling me this
The
is
same,
homemade.
the same thing.
It's the exact
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And for some people it works. They have low margins, but they sell loads of it.
Yeah,
And that's fine. But when we have these really fancy places, and we know which fancy place we're talking about, they spend a lot of money, £1 million on getting the decor right. And yet I'll go there and it's a fancy ass plate, and yet it's the same waffle that I can get anywhere else, and I'm spending £12. I'm like, You can fool these guys. You're not fooling me.
You know, I don't know whether it's because I've got my own place, but I think I know which one you're talking about. And I've been saying the same thing to everyone that I meet. They go, yeah, it looks amazing. In my opinion, and this is, I would never bash anyone. I would never bash any other business. If it's working for you, do your thing, man.
Sure,
Just do your thing, yeah. If you're getting success, more success to you. But with this one particular place, they've smashed it in regards to like the way it looks, the aesthetics, everything. But it's the same waffle, it's the same cheesecake, it's the same. Do you see what I mean? It's
100%. The only difference is instead of doing a squeezy bottle, they'll do a brush.
Yeah, they'll do the brush. But then this goes back to the point that you made, was it's the whole experience. They're going for the whole experience, and
I just annoys me though, because I just wish they'd follow it through. Like,
yeah.
I think our community deserves better. This is a personal thing. I mean, if you go to places like that are catered for white people, you know, they'll make it in house.
Yeah.
But our community hasn't quite yet demanded that same level of quality from our own places.
I think it's coming though. I think,
it is coming. If you go to London, it is already there. If you're not making that in house,
because that's the next step. First, it was like, let's get the waffles on the plate. Everyone got the waffles on the plate. Now it's like, let's make it aesthetically pleasing. We made it look nice. Now it's all about the flowers and everything. Okay, now it's always what's next. Now it's going to be like the quality of the food. People are going to start getting a bit fancier. There's all these reviews, blogs and everything. They're going to start being a bit more picky in regards to like their reviews and stuff.
So, you know what? Once somebody reviewed us and they gave us a negative review. Do you know why? Because we had a delivery of strawberries, and they were like, "We're disappointed that you don't grow your own strawberries."
Yeah, they magically think that we've got some farm at the back.
Do you think we have a cow in the back that we get our milk from as well, and some chicken that we slaughter in the back? Like, there's strawberries. Like, what the heck? And then every now and then, when I'm in my bed and I'm, having a calm day, I just think about that. I think about the person who gave us a negative review because we brought strawberries.
It is hilarious.
What are you gonna do?
What's next for Coco by Ali?
So we have a second store already. It's in Leicester, and it's like maybe about 4 times the size of this, maybe even more. And it's such a beautiful building. Like, I went to this building when it was a cafe before, and I sat there thinking, I wish one day I could have something like this. I remember it was about maybe 3 years ago, and because I love Victorian buildings. Like, that's the thing I love the most. Tall ceilings.
The strong buildings as well.
Yeah, I just love them so much. And lo and behold, alhamdulillah, 3 years later, it's mine. But mine and my business partner,
dreams are a powerful thing, man.
For sure. And, it's ours now, and we're doing it up. We, the amount we spent on here, we're probably spending about 6 times on that because we have that money now. Alhamdulillah, thank God we have that money to do that. And I am genuinely so excited for that, because that is a whole new ball game, because it's going to look so beautiful. It's very, 90% of our customers, if you look at now, actually, are females.
Yeah.
And so, thankfully, that's my forte anyway. Aesthetically, I'm feminine anyway. So, like, that's my game. And my business partner, like, he's like a lad's lad. He's like, he's my friend, but he's like very, very, the alpha male type.
Is he the polar opposite to you?
He's the polar opposite, but I've been drawing out his like feminine side, like, because he hates pink with a passion. He just hates it.
Yeah.
But now him like, oh look, that shade of pink's nice. Or like,
it's all the pastel colors, aren't they?
Yeah. But so slowly, I've been drawing out his like feminine side, and he's been playing with like trees, like. But the things we've got planned for that. Honestly, I can't wait till we open.
When are we looking to get that?
Inshallah, August, the beginning of August. We're on track to get it ready by then. We have people in there right now working, doing on it. We still go in like once a week or once every 2 weeks and do some work on it ourselves, because that way we know like it's going how we want it to go.
The way you want to go, yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna be hopefully August. Just getting it ready.
Sounds exciting, man, and I wish you more success.
Thank
and
you.
May Allah make it easy for you. Right, we'll wrap this up, but before we wrap it up, we haven't really spoke much about the actual baking. So if there's bakers out there watching, and they're watching this because of you, they know about you, what would be sort of some advice that you'd give some bakers that are maybe going into that career?
Yeah.
Any advice you'd give to them?
2. One, as I've said throughout this whole interview, don't give a crap about what anyone else says.
Preach,
I always say every single person who's born. I truly believe that every single person is born with a talent. God won't put you on this planet to do nothing. Nobody's a bystander here. If you are given a talent of baking, use it, because why would you deny that gift from God? It literally is a gift. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't see it as a role for a certain gender. It's a talent. Grip it by its throat and utilize it. So if you have the talent of baking and you want to go into that profession, just go into it. There are opportunities out there. There are businesses who are always looking for bakers to bake in-house. We're one of them. You can go to patisserie schools. They often offer scholarships as well. And to be honest, we need people like that in our community. You know, we're an up-and-coming community. We don't have, you know, statistically speaking, we're still less well off than white people in the community in the country, and I think we deserve better. So when opportunities like this come, take them. Take your talent. Don't care about what other people are thinking, and yeah, just do it if you can. I mean, should you have a backup? Yeah, I always say to everyone, if you're especially from a working class background, make sure you see through university. I know loads of people will say don't, but I genuinely do believe that not all dreams come true, so it's always important to have a backup, and sometimes university is that backup. So if you're in a position where you can go to university, finish your degree. If you're then at an opportunity where you can have some financial stability to try baking, and doing that as a course or as a business, then absolutely give it a go, because there is a market there for you. And if you need advice, just DM me. I almost always reply to everyone. I'm more than happy to give personalized advice. But yeah, just DM me.
If people do want to reach out to you online on any of your social media platforms, what's your Insta tag?
Ali Imdad Bakes. Same thing everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Ali Imdad Bakes. But I normally reply on Insta. So if you Facebook or Twitter me, I might ignore it. Or I won't see it. But Insta DM, because it beeps on my phone, I'll see it. So I will 100% reply to everyone. But if you're gonna say, can I have a job, please don't message me. Message Coco. Like, Coco has her own DM, Coco by Ali. Message them, and when they're looking, they'll reply to you. But if you, because so many people message me, can I have a job? I'm like, I don't deal with that, and I find it hard to say no. So I'm like, okay, and then I'll have like 15 people in at one time. So please don't message me. Message Coco by Ali.
Right, Ali, really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your insights. Guys, on to the next one.